One of the best areas to get started in e-com, in my opinion, is picking a product that generally has a high ticket or high price. Someone selling houses, real estate, typically makes more money than someone selling apples. That's a very safe way of making sure that you will make sales. What I think differentiates like a really good Google marketer from like mediocre ones is that adaptability. As long as you stay ahead of the curve, you're going to be totally fine. In business, it's not about there's no secret pill. It's about an approach that encompasses all the unique aspects. My sales don't come from ads. My sales come from people that already know me. What I think ads did for me is it just allows me to re-engage those people. Actually, let me not say that. I don't want to give away so much source to the competitors.
Welcome, Mr. Google Ads Agency.
Thank you, bro.
Let's get started. Let's get started with the juicy stuff. 2025. Yes. A lot of changes are coming with Google Ads and anything Google related.
Yeah.
So let's talk Google. What are you seeing in 2025? What are the changes? What are you excited about? What are you worried about?
Yeah.
What are you working on?
So primarily never worried about anything in marketing or a performance marketing in general, because the game is always evolving. And I remember a few years ago when smart shopping first came out and everyone was like super pissed, like, we're losing control, algorithms taking over, we're getting replaced, and none of that happened. And it ended up becoming our favorite tool, right? Same with PMax. People hated PMax. Now everyone loves PMax. So I think this will continue to happen. I think the game is evolving, so primarily not worried about anything. I think, what you need to do and what I see, what I think differentiates like a really good Google marketer from like mediocre ones is that adaptability. Those guys are still swearing on, you have to do segmented search, SKEG, and standard shopping. Those don't tend to be the best media buyers, right? So I think as long as you stay ahead of the curve, you're going to be totally fine. Having said that, I think the biggest changes that I see coming in 2025 or the biggest developments, right? So one very big thing was that standard shopping is now prioritized on the same level as PMax. Meaning before you used to run a standard shopping, activate PMax, all the traffic goes to the PMax campaign, right? That has changed now. It is now even, which is an interesting move by Google. It goes kind of away again from automation. So I think that's something we should definitely keep our eyes on. That's one of the things I see happening. Obviously, continuous changes to PMax. I don't think they have finished rolling out the product fully. I think we'll still see further changes. And demand gen, obviously, right? I mean, Google is now challenging the push traffic monopoly on short form that Meta has. That is happening. It's working really, really well. CPMs are low. And I think, a lot of brands that I speak to, they have it on their radar. They want to do YouTube Shorts. So yeah. I think that will be another big change in this year.
Yeah. I'm curious how that's going to go. Also for, in general, YouTube ads going to the demand gen, right?
Yeah.
And then it's going to be YouTube Shorts, all of that in there. Actually, before we go into all the other exciting stuff that we are going to talk about today, let's go talk a little bit about Performance Max.
Yeah.
I've seen you run some ads about it.
Yep.
So for you, Performance Max is really something that you focused on last year and got good results with, or what about it?
100%. So like I said in the ad, 8 out of 10 big accounts that I take a look at, PMax is the number one campaign generating new customer traffic. Because in essence, it is like a smart shopping campaign. It's a shopping campaign, most people run it that way, asset only, and highly algorithmic. And it tends to be the highest performer, right? So I think it's a cornerstone of every successful D2C e-com account, right? Like anyone owning a D2C brand watching this will know that that's one of the campaigns doing the best. And as we progress, there's so many layers to it now. There is the whole insights that you can run, like that My Growth script everyone's using. You can see so much data of what's happening inside the PMax. Then you've got sort of auxiliary functions that you're implementing, such as the index split or labelizer, whatever you want to call it, right? Product bucketing, which is also sort of become like an integral part of it. So the PMax game is developing, and it's very, very powerful. I do think you can get similar results with standard shopping. I do see that with some people, also with smart bidding, but it's just in my experience, I have a co-owner brand myself, and I could not imagine myself running only shopping. Like we spent last month, I think 220,000 on Google Ads, majority on PMax. I couldn't see myself running that for shopping. Just because it works. It works with the whole direction marketing and the platform is going. It integrates into that very well.
Yeah, and I guess also what I always felt like if you're scaling to really high budgets, that sometimes at that point simplicity wins from complexity, right? If your funnel is tight, if your creatives are tight, or whatever you're doing with your Google search and images and all that stuff, it's so much easier to really scale one campaign than to have like freaking 10 segments and like 15 campaigns and all that kind of stuff. Is that also something you feel where, like, of course, you know, you lose a little bit of, you know, you can turn a little bit less on the knobs, but at the same time, like if it works, then it's really easy to scale and it makes your life a lot easier.
Yeah, so two things on that. I would not use one PMax campaign. We use multiple on the same account, right? So typically it'll be like 3, 4, maybe 5 campaigns even, right?
Yeah.
Generally speaking. But I think what you said just there was really interesting. Simplicity wins over complexity. Like I'm trying to think of one area in marketing where complexity wins over simplicity as of right now. Can't think of any. Right? We're B2B, we're business, we're B2B businesses. I don't know how your acquisition works, but my acquisition, the simpler I keep it, the better it works. You know, trying to optimize 1 million conversion points and this CTA and that line in the VSO and like crazy LPs. No, just simple, straight to the point.
Yeah.
Tends to work the best in marketing, in my opinion, anyways. I don't know how you see it, if you see any areas with high complexity. Well, you're YouTube ads guy, so maybe YouTube complexity can work. But generally speaking, I find that simplicity always works really, really well. And what was the second part of your question again?
No, that was the point. Like whether you see that simplicity scales. Yeah, and with YouTube ads, you might have a lot of campaigns, but it's still like preferably you have like a few creatives that work. Yeah. And preferably you don't touch ages and genders too much because then, you know, you triple, quadruple all the campaigns that you have. But sometimes you have to. But that's the nice thing with Performance Max, that most of the time, I don't know how you're setting it up, most of the time you don't touch those too much and you focus more on other stuff, right?
Yeah, and also it's like, I wouldn't say that, like truthfully speaking, you know, I wouldn't say even complexity goes away that much because you just focus on different things, right? Like when we talk about complexity in that context, you talk about the difference of you either have a PMax campaign or you have a shopping campaign. Optimization effort is the same. The only difference is shopping, you just do nitty-gritty stuff. You look for every single search term, you exclude every single search term. You do like lots of like manual optimizations that are like really like nitty-gritty. But you can still, like we still put the same time into PMax. But I think it's just about putting your energy towards that. There's a million things you can do. You know, set up proper new customer targeting on PMax. That's a job of its own because that entails conversion tracking on tag basis and also customer match lists, right? Just the new customer optimization. You know, talk about interpreting the data from the PMax campaign, the bidding on the PMax campaign, labelizer. Again, there's so many things that you can do. And I think what people are getting wrong when people are sort of like, you know, staying away from PMax is they think it's this one campaign we just set up and you just leave it. But it's really not. Like the game has just changed. And truthfully speaking, as we're seeing less data from Google and less control, why should we go against that? Like if you optimize on search terms, you optimize on less than you optimized on 10 years ago. So, you know, just go with the flow and optimize with the way the platform is developing, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then also, of course, like if you talk to Carl, you will figure that out. It's like there's so much more that goes on the website. Yeah. And if you improve that, everything becomes a lot easier from the media buying perspective. But that was a little. If you have, so you have a course about this, right? So we'll put, or you don't have a course about
no course.
No I saw course. What was it in your ad? I saw you holding this cool box.
Freebie.
A freebie. You have a freebie. So we'll put his Instagram and YouTube below here, and then you can check it out if you want to learn a little bit more about PMax. But what I really wanted to get you on a podcast is because you did some pretty cool thing with your business partners with luxury beds in Germany. So I think it would be cool to kind of go through there. Like, first of all, how did the collaboration start? Yeah. And then look at a few phases that you went through or like bottlenecks that you have to fix to scale it to. How much are you right now?
So the peak was about 2 million a month. And now it's like anywhere between 1.4 to 2 million a month. Yeah, most of the time.
So I think that's the most interesting part. See, like, let's get started with the at the beginning. How did that collaboration take hold?
Very interesting. So I first met or got in touch with my partners, Ugas and Diego, father and son duo. I think it was in 2019. And we had some touch points on like a sub project that they previously ran. Because Ugas, he's been in the furniture business for a very long time. And we worked together on a completely different project, on something related with outdoor furniture, but it worked really well. Ugas is a super likable guy. Shout out to Ugas at this point. Super likable guy. It's like the type we all like these characters, like an old school businessman, sort of from like the 90s, 80s era, old school, keeps his word, a lot of charisma, just a likable character, you know, someone that makes you laugh. So I always had like a good connection with him because I liked his personality, right? So we worked on this furniture project and it worked well, but it was sort of in the late stages of it finishing. We're just basically selling the rest of the stock he had. So there was limited upside. So like we both knew that this is not going to take off crazy, but we just enjoyed working with each other. Like I used to call him up and like he used to crack a joke, I crack a joke. We just have fun, right? And this was still at my time, during my time as a Google contractor. Now, after I left Google, it was all around the COVID time, like beginning of 2020. I got a call from Ugas, and Ugas had a son, or has a son, Diego. Obviously Diego at that time was still in school and he couldn't go to school, right? COVID. So he calls me up, he's like, Arian, my son's home all day playing Fortnite. I want to bring him into the business. I want him to do something. Shall we, like, do you want to work with us and like set up a store together, do a new project together? I'm like, cool. Like I already love that. Just like that idea, like of a dad seeing, or like of a dad wanting to support his son at age 16 or 17 to become an entrepreneur. I find that amazing. Like that resonates with my values a lot. I love that idea. I'm like, hell yeah, like let's definitely do it. Plan was set up. He's like, listen, I'll take care of offline because I've been in furniture for 30 years. And I know how to do the logistics, and anyone doing furniture e-commerce knows logistics is the worst. So he's like, I'll take care of that. You just take care of online. Boom, shook hands, you know, didn't even do anything official, just agreed on it and got started. Turned out that the son, Diego, and I think till this day, and again, shout out to Diego, he has a, how can I explain this? Like, have you ever seen like the young kids nowadays? Like, I'm not really like a really stylish guy, but like when you talk to young kids today, they will tell you can wear these Nikes or these Dunks with this shirt, but not with those. They've got this like very like strong sense, like what works and what's cool, right? And Diego's very much in tune with that. So, and that I think is a very good skill for product research. When you have a feeling for what people, the masses like, that could make you a really good product research. And Diego always had that. So he picked some niche. He picked box spring beds. And within that niche, he picked like a few products. He's like, that's got Chesterfield look. I like that. The bed's got to have LEDs. The bed's got to have USB. The bed's got to have a TV lift. Like he came up with these like very distinct ideas of how the product should look like, and he thought it would work well. And I think that was really sort of part of the magic formula behind the brand. Because what happened afterwards, when we launched it, I don't remember the exact numbers on top of my head, but basically within a year we took it to $1 million a month, which is really good for any e-com brand bootstrapped,
100%.
right? And within 2 years, we took it to 2 million. What does that mean? Like you start at zero, you at $1 million after a year means you add in like a couple $100K every month, right? For 2 years, which is mental. That's how everything got started. And I think, again, it was rooted in Diego's skill in product research. It was rooted in Ugas's operational excellency and our approach when it comes to Google Ads. So I took care of the scaling of the account. I still do together with my team. And that was sort of how everything got started, yeah.
Yeah, so let's go back there. He figured out a couple of beds. How many beds did you start with? How many products?
It must have been, like the original SKUs must have been less than 36 SKUs, I think.
36. Yeah. So you have 36 products. What was the first thing you did? Shopping, PMax, search?
Standard. So at that time, when we started, there was no smart shopping was around at the time. But it was that time when not everyone had adopted it yet. Mm-hmm. So I believe
that's good for you.
Yes. So I think at that time we started with search and with shopping, I believe. That's the two campaign types that we started with. I'm a fan, like in e-com and in marketing, MVP, minimum viable product. You know, there's no point when you start on an account fresh, like to set up crazy dynamic remarketing, all of that. Just keep it simple. See if it works.
Yeah.
So that's what we did there.
Yeah.
We generated some conversions on search that were not very high ROAS, so they were not really profitable. But I didn't even care about that, and I generally don't care about that in the beginning. I want to see proof of concept. Like, I want to see that search query connects with the audience and connects with the landing page and people buy, right? Yeah. If the conversion rate or whatever, the CPC, like that's all stuff I can work with. But I want to know you can get 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 conversions on that keyword. So that was a very good sign. Furthermore, we started getting some conversions from shopping as well, and they were surprisingly highly profitable, pretty high ROAS. And I believe we had like a testing phase of like 2 weeks to a month, whatever, like a short period of time. And what we found out very quickly, what crystallized, was that the LED aspect of the beds worked really well. Reason being, box spring beds is a huge market in Germany and a lot of places as well. Therefore, it's difficult to rank on that keyword because there's so many people bidding on it.
Yeah.
As you go into sub-niches such as LED beds, that competition becomes less, meaning I need a lot less budget to have a strong presence for that keyword, test it, and also, have like a degree of market share, actual market share. So we figured out that those keywords started doing, that actually did best. It was much, much better than generic box spring bed.
Yeah.
Because also box spring beds, you can get cheaper ones without LED and things like that. So that worked really well for us. We capitalized on it, meaning start building search campaigns centered around the LED theme, and also optimizing the feed for it to like really like make sure like we did everything in our power that if you look for an LED box spring bed, we rank first. You had massive competitors, multi-million conglomerates like furniture, bro. Furniture, like, how did these huge warehouse shops, get built? They're crazy money, right? But we knew we had to take them on. And we picked a angle of attack, and that was LED, and we did everything we can to just develop a hegemony on that LED angle. And that was the initial lever that really moved the needle.
Got it. And just so people can kind of like visualize it, LED box springs beds, like that. What does that mean? There's LED below, or like how does it look?
Anywhere you want. Like, we have a configurator now. You can have in like multiple places. But generally speaking, a box spring bed with LEDs means you have LEDs on the bottom and usually on the sides, meaning they shine towards the floor or the wall, and that way it just gives a vibey look. Like right here now we have LEDs, like that same look. You'll have that in your bedroom, So whatever you want to do, sleep, watch a film, whatever,
whatever
you can set the right mood for it, basically. Yes.
Okay, that's cool. It makes sense. Now, these are pretty high-end beds, right? Or like, what kind of price range are we talking about exactly?
So they're about, now things are changing with the configurator, but generally speaking, between $1,000 to $2,500 is a typical transaction.
Got it. And when you were looking at the search ads, shopping ads, did people buy like on the same day? Was there like some kind of sales process in between? How did that go?
Very good question. So, when it comes to high ticket products or items, there is this, I don't want to say notion because it's true in most cases, but there's this idea that people have a longer sales cycle, right? It takes longer for them to buy. Now, in our case, the sales cycle is extremely short. Like, people look for beds and they buy same day or same week. I don't know our attribution sort of time frame on top of my head, but I would say it's even something like 5 or 6 days on average, including people that take 6 months or whatever. So it's a very, very impulsive buy. And I believe that is the case for one simple reason, and that is what I always also advocate. People ask me if they want to start in e-com. One of the best areas to get started in e-com, in my opinion, is picking a product that generally has a high ticket or high price, a high average transaction, AOV, whatever it is, right? Yeah. That's generally a good decision in business. Like, someone selling houses, real estate, typically makes more money than someone selling apples, although there's big farmers, whatever. So generally speaking, the higher your average transaction goes in your business is usually a good thing.
Yeah, it's easy, right? Because the cost per click is still going to be proportionally a little bit higher, but...
Precisely.
Yeah.
So you got more room for marketing already. Now, that is not to say like what a lot of people will do is they'll start a random business, whatever, selling lamps, and then they sell a lamp for 10K. Like that's not going to work. So within high ticket, pick an item that you can source at a price where you can price your product very competitively and sort of at the lower end. What do I mean by that? If you take this table, this wooden table, and it typically costs between 1K to 2K. If you go into that market and you're able to source it at a price where you can price it around, say, 1,100, 1,200, that's a very safe way of making sure that you will make sales, right? Because in comparison to the other options in the market, you're cheap. You're giving the user a reason to buy from you as opposed to the established brand. That's already great, right? So you get that advantage while retaining the benefit of a high-ticket product, which is you have more room for CPAs.
Got it. And I guess because the dad was like a logistic genius, he could also kind of give good prices. And that was one of the levers that you guys had as well.
Huge lever. I don't understand it. Like, I don't know exactly what goes on the logistics side. Like, real talk. I just know Ugas goes to Poland like every month and drinks with our, with our suppliers, and it's always a pretty tough weekend. But yeah, of course, like that made a huge difference. Like, without, giving away too much of our source, furniture, like you need to negotiate with your suppliers. There's other people in the market. There's exclusivity. There's price increases. Raw materials are going up. Ukraine happened. Guess what? All of the wood in Europe comes from Ukraine, right? Yeah. So things change, and having good relationships and knowing how to navigate that can be and was for us the make or break of our business.
Yeah, and then together with the LADs, you have your two advantages.
Exactly.
So that's where you started, search and shopping, right? Yeah. Smart shopping set. And to what point did you scale that up before you started looking into other channels?
We scaled that up for a pretty long time, but pretty fast we got active and we built sort of like smaller moats around that, right?
Meaning?
So for example, there was a cutoff period at which smart shopping was going to be, at which, for example, smart shopping was going to be deactivated, right? Mm-hmm. There was a specific point in time. And we were at a dilemma, and I think the whole D2C space, because smart shopping, in my opinion, was the best Google product ever released. It had like just the right amount of like automation and control taken away. I know it sounds weird, but just the way it was done, it was just like a really, 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 really good campaign type. And it was so good that the whole D2C space basically switched to smart shopping, right? And everyone was at a dilemma because it was like, we're making millions with this campaign type, and it was sometime in summer, like in June, whatever, this will be turned off. What are we going to do? And we were faced with a dilemma, and I think everyone else is like, do you ride it out until the end and then just make like a hard switch to standard shopping, hoping that nothing will happen, or they will be automatically upgraded to P Max? Like, how do you approach this? How do you prepare for this? And in that event, for example, what we did is I said to the team, like, hey, we will adopt P Max, no problem, but let's start building standard shopping campaigns and let them get some traction, let them get some data, right? So we have something to fall back on, right? So that was one of the points at which we diversified, was that switch when smart shopping turned into PMax, just digging a small moat by also running standard shopping. We tested YouTube fairly early on, went deep into search, Search is a whole, story of itself. Went deep into search, went deep into DSA, retargeting, obviously. But really, I think the main thing is the complexity that we brought into our shopping campaigns. So, or shopping network overall, like the way we use seasonality adjustments, the way we used dynamic remarketing, which most people get wrong. It's just that complexity within the shopping network, I would say, is most of the diversification that we did.
Got it. And what happened then when smart shopping got shut down, or it didn't get shut down?
Yeah, it did get shut down. I was really happy that we did the preparation with standard shopping, because for a few days that actually carried us. So we dampened the fall a lot doing that. And PMax campaigns, yeah, in the beginning they were a little bit odd as well. I think it took longer for PMax to catch on with people and to like work really well, as opposed to smart shopping. I feel like smart shopping was faster in that regard. But then we adopted PMax, and we started using that, and never looked back ever since.
Got it. So PMax was the next wave after that started
Yes.
working, and then you pushed it up to $1 million a month, or you already before that at $1 million a month?
I would have to check the numbers.
Roughly speaking.
I don't think. I think we hit the million before the PMax change came, but it's not very far apart.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So then it was PMax. Did you start adding Facebook, YouTube, anything there, or?
Yeah, we do run we do run Meta ads, and we've been running them for a while to support the brand and gain some additional top funnel traction. But like in a very specific way, to support the Google channel, and we're very sharp messaging and positioning, right? It's not about just buying a bed. It's about the specific benefit that you get from the bed, or specific angles of the product. So we started doing that. We started running YouTube ads as well. But largely, our work has always been focusing around the search and the shopping customers. So later on, Labelizer came out, right, which is a product bucketing system where you divide your products as to top, low, mid performers. I think we have something like 40,000 SKUs. It's impossible to manage, 40,000 listings with shopping. Cannot do it. And figuring out how to set up your Labelizer on 40,000 products and 2 million monthly revenue, bro, that's like a 6-month task in itself until you get that right. So again, honestly speaking, we've just gone deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper within search and the shopping cosmos.
Got it. Do you think there's still opportunity with YouTube and Facebook to reach new markets and scale there, or you think you kind of kept out the German market at the moment?
So the one thing that we did that I'm really happy with is we focused more on, I think, a furniture brand in beds has to be grown in a different way. Like there's only so much you can do on Meta, I believe, especially if you're looking to make quick turnover. If you're branding the thing and whatever, expecting people to convert in a year, okay, fine. But if you want like results today, then I think there's limitations there. Yeah. I think it's possible, but I think it's something you have to like do in a very dedicated way. And we're still figuring it out. We're trying different things. We haven't cracked the code yet. We've found a few things that work really well, but we haven't cracked the code where it makes beds super scalable on Meta. And I don't think any of our competitors have. I know I know what they're doing, or I think I know, and I don't see that with them either. Couple things you can do in high ticket furniture, beds, etc. First of all, retention marketing is super OP. Like, bro, one sale, if I get one more sale out of the traffic I get, that's $2,000. Yeah. So talk 10, 20, 100 sets. So we heavily invested into retention marketing, email and WhatsApp as well. Killer, like especially WhatsApp, doing blasts on WhatsApp, like pick the right time, pick the right campaign, the right benefit, like, you will have significant impact. So retention marketing is a huge thing on furniture because you want to squeeze out everything you can from that expensive traffic, and which will yield very big returns. That's number one. Number two, there's different ways of doing furniture as well, right? If you're doing furniture, you need to look at samples, right? People want to know what their bed feels like. What's the tissue, the fabric feel like of your sofa, of your bed, wherever, right? So now you're going more towards the lead gen approach.
Yeah. Right.
Now, so you're aiming to sell the bed. You're just aiming to get rid of some samples, right? That can be highly effective. So it works differently. Like there's some mechanisms that work significantly different than other brands, and also furniture is just so different, right? Like we don't have crazy LTV. But front-end profitability is not so much of an issue. So our game, where like other brands maybe optimize a lot on like LTV, for us it's more about like, making sure the front-end acquisition is really strong.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's only so many beds you can buy, right? Maybe for your holiday home, for your kids, for your wife, that sleep separately, but then you're done at 3 to 4 beds.
Bro, yeah, people come back. I mean, you know,
But that's like a couple of years later, I guess.
they do, but sometimes they buy bedding or they buy a sofa with us or they
Okay.
buy. There is retention involved. Like there is a certain LTV that there is, but again, it's like it's stages. Like at this point, I'm just concerned with making our acquisition as strong as possible and making sure that the process works as smoothly as possible. Because delivering a bed, like there's a lot of things that can go wrong with that, you know. And if the customer is not happy, you have a problem, you know. And there's only so much of that you can sustain. So we're still at the stage where we're just optimizing for that. We see in benefits down the line of retention, and I just believe if you work on the right things, the rest will follow, right? Like if you're trying to burn fat, you're just going to walk more, right? You should just do that. That will have positive effect down the line. Likewise, if you make your front acquisition really strong and your customer experience and the quality of your products, that will automatically have a effect later down the line on LTV.
So are you also saying that you're not pushing ads too much harder because you guys are making sure that delivery fulfillment is all on point? So you could push the ads harder, you think?
For sure.
Where do you want to push it? Let's say this year, or like let's say everything magic wand fulfillment is solved. How far would you try to push it this year? What do you think is like doable in Germany?
Very good question. I think we've reached a point at which there is a trade-off between profitability and scale, like every other brand. And you have to have a degree of prioritization between the two. And you need to have an overall strategy and a game plan. Like, what are you going to do? Like, are you going to exit this thing? Or are you going to scale it and keep it, or like automate it and make it more passive? Like, those are fundamentally different approaches. You know, if you want to exit a brand, like, bro, you need 3 years of good numbers. Like, that sheet needs to be clean. And I would say that is more important than other things. So, you know, like, I feel like there's so many different strategies on what you can focus on. We're still working, or I'm specifically still working on taking the business to a level where it's agile and flexible and it can go in either direction, right? Being extremely profitable, making sure you have really good profit on paper is already a huge task for an e-com brand.
Yeah.
Now, take that and now go, all right, I don't just want to have huge profit on paper. I want to have huge take-home profit. Like, you know, now we're talking payment providers and all these type of things. So that's the way I'm looking at it. I'm still like, I feel like this is such a big thing and there's so much work to do. So I'm not even thinking in terms of like, how much can we scale? Like, that's not what I'm concerned with. I'm trying to, this boat that we've built, I'm trying to make sure we have the fastest and most robust built boat that is possible. And it will always produce good results. And the better the boat, the, you know, further we can sail.
Got it. And you guys are only selling in Germany now, or also Austria and Switzerland?
We sell, we have operations in Austria, less in Switzerland. We have some operations in a few other European markets. Maybe there will be more geographic expansion, but for sure the DACH market and specifically Germany is our main territory.
Got it. So like budget-wise, let's say 80-90% Germany and the rest?
Probably more than that.
Austria and Switzerland.
Probably like more like 95% Germany, yeah.
Random question that's not that interesting to most people, but it is to me. What do you feel like if you look at Germany and you look then at Austria and Switzerland? Like, is it even worth it to move into those countries, or are they too small, or is the culture too different?
Yeah.
Is it just...
I think it's worth it for sure. I think it's worth it. I mean, most of the guys that I know that are Austria-based and they're in e-com, they kind of try to crack Germany. It's just a bigger market, you know? So you will always gravitate towards a bigger market. What I do see is like some products tend to work well in Austria or more suitable for Austria than Germany. For example, if you're in the outdoor game, probably Germany still beats Austria in terms of overall number, but there is just more demand for that. It feels like relative to the population, you know, in Austria in general. So that certain verticals like can be like if you're selling like really good shoes for hiking, like very specific hiking shoes that have like a unique benefit, I would be more inclined to internationalize to Austria with that, as opposed to vitamin gummy bears, for example.
Got it. I guess the US is like probably not going to happen, but you're looking into Norway, Sweden, Finland, or which other countries are you guys considering at least?
Yeah, US will be a tricky one, with the logistics of
Yeah.
it. And it probably does, I don't even know if it makes sense to take the brand. I think if you wanted to do a furniture project in US, then you should just do a US thing. Because
Yeah.
like the supply chain is different. Like where
Yeah.
you're gonna, I don't even know where US gets their, I know where Europe gets the furniture from. I don't know where US, I don't know if it's Mexico, Peru or whatever, or even US itself. There are a few markets that could be interesting. The thing in our case in particular with box spring beds is that they are bigger in Germany than in other places. Like it's a bigger thing in Germany than in other areas of Europe. I think Holland can be interesting. I think UK can be interesting. Maybe even Eastern Europe. There's a few markets we have our sights on.
Yeah, but that's gonna be a bunch of research, I guess.
Exactly.
All right, cool. That's it's an interesting story. Would you say that that's one of the most interesting cases that you have scaled up?
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Because you really have a view of everything, I guess. Like you understand the whole business there.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it was a very unique and very defining experience for me because obviously I started at Google as a contractor and got to see sort of the mothership side for a very long time and learn everything on the back end. And it's small things you learn, but like small little details. It's not like there's no secret algorithm hacking code. Like that does not exist. But like knowing from Google, like, hey, this is how this function actually works, and that's what it's dependent on. That was always super helpful. From going from that to scaling your own brand and being like, shit, like this is like I'm spending 2K of my own money here today. Yeah. Like that's a very different feeling than dealing with clients' money, right? Or even at Google for Google clients. Having done that, and then now also the agency side, again doing it with other people's money, but not being the service itself Google, but being a third party, has definitely given me a unique experience. Most likely, I would say scaling the brand was the most impactful of those three.
Got it. Now, with scaling, there's always challenges, right? You're always looking for a mechanism to convert things. And something that you have been pretty bullish on, I think, is Advertorials, right?
Yeah.
Saw you created a YouTube video about it.
Yeah.
Let's dive in there a little bit.
Yeah.
Right now, Advertorials are, I think, one of those. I mean, everybody's kind of getting into it.
Yeah.
Or do you still think it's a massive opportunity?
Oh, it's still a massive opportunity. I think Advertorials will be a massive opportunity until big corporates get into it. I think until that happens, we have big opportunities.
So you feel that the bigger companies are not using them as much yet?
I don't see a lot of MNCs, multinational corporations, like enterprise corporate level. I don't see a lot of Advertorials. I can't think of any. You see like similar approaches, like maybe affiliate marketing, or you see like some really big 8-figure brands, but I've yet to see a Unilever Advertorial that I haven't seen yet.
Got it. So that's kind of like for us, the smaller to medium guys, a way to still compete in terms of advertising, even with search. Even you can. That's how you're competing with the big guys.
Yeah,
using Advertorials.
Correct.
So how is that structured right now? Is that something you're offering in your agency, or is that something extra, or like how does that look like?
Yeah. So the thing with Advertorials is, I think, I see it almost. So the thing is with Advertorials, I see it almost as a prerequisite for certain industries, right? For certain verticals. Like I will not touch or most supplement cases without Advertorials.
Yeah.
Like if I don't know that the brand has the capacity to build Advertorials, to create the copy and deliver them, I will not work with them because I know in most cases it won't work. Unless you're like extremely competitively priced and have a super hot product, then maybe you can do it, right? But in most conventional cases, I wouldn't do it. So for me, it was a prerequisite that brands have the capacity to it. We offer a lot of help in that case. We conduct the research and give them like extremely strong insights on what type of Advertorials they should build, what angle, right? That's what we do, and then we test the Advertorials. But yeah, having the ability to build Advertorials, I think, is something every e-com brand should build.
Got it. Let's dive in a little bit deeper there. So you guys do the research, like you mentioned, what kind of Advertorial and the angles.
Yeah.
How does that look like?
So the thing about Advertorials is, I think what people need to understand is, if you look at Google Ads 20 years ago, right? It was a lot cheaper. Anyone who does Google, like, when you meet these older guys, I used to do Google Ads 20 years ago and would make 10K with like $100 spent, whatever. So it got more expensive over time. And so has the efficiency gone down, right? So like right now, it's quite difficult to run successful or profitable ads in the D2C space on search. That's quite a difficult task because the CPCs are super high, conversion rates are not as high, and that relationship between conversion rate and CPC has just gone to a point where this doesn't make sense. Like whatever you sell tables and you target a keyword table, you will have conversions. Like you definitely will. They just won't be profitable, right? So what Advertorials allow us is a second chance at search campaigns because one, you can tap into different awareness stages where the competition and the CPC is much, much lower. So that is one opportunity that opens up. And the second opportunity you have is you can have significantly higher conversion rates. Like an advertorial that crushes can have a conversion rate of 5 to 6% on search. That is a very strong conversion rate for new customer acquisition on search. You get other like normal search campaigns as well, but that in itself, that's already top tier. So those are the opportunities that Advertorials, generally speaking, bring, and from there comes how we approach it, right? So one type of listicle advertorial I would recommend to everyone is comparison, right? That is the one where I see the highest success rate.
Top 5 makeup brands, top 5 this, worst foods to eat, that kind of stuff.
There you go. Like that has the highest success rate. That's not always the most scalable one or the most profitable one, but that has the highest chance of success. So that's something that I would recommend, and what we do and what I would recommend anyone looking to do it is just check your competitors. If you're running US ads, you got a particular product, turn on that VPN and trigger a search query that's likely to trigger or enter a search query that's likely to trigger an advertorial like that. Do that from 5 different cities, or from 10 different cities. And if the same advertorial keeps popping up, obviously our process is a bit more complicated than that, but in simple terms, it's a pretty high chance there's a good spend behind it. Now, there's other tools and spy tools and whatever you can use to find out. But in the most basic sense, just do your research and figure out, all right, what's the most popping advertorial for what I offer? And taking inspiration from that will already give you a head start. Going from there, one thing I would encourage everyone is take a look, if you're meta heavy, take a look at what angles work on meta and convert those into keywords. In almost every case you can do that. No matter what creative works really well, whatever the angle is, if it's a beauty transformation, weight loss, anything, right? You can always turn the angle that worked into a keyword.
Yeah, it's the same with native. Some people grab the Facebook ad, just put the title there. Facebook ad is the advertorial, and then
exactly right. So, for example, if you're selling an anti-aging cream, and your winning advertorial is a woman in a certain age that has like reversed some of her wrinkles, then that gives you ideas of what an advertorial could be. Like the best, like how women in their 40s. In wherever in the world, in California, they're killing their wrinkles and fine lines, like there's easy ways to translate that. And what you should do also is you should verify that there's search volume for that angle, right? Yeah. That's sort of the second place I would go. Use basically concepts that are already working elsewhere in marketing and translate them into an advertorial, basically. And from there, then once you get that going, you've got your listicle, you've got your sort of top performer angles that work in general. And what I would then recommend to do is go into higher awareness stages. Long term, that's what you want to do with advertorials, in my opinion, because the higher you go in terms of the awareness stage, the more searches there will be, right? And the lower the CPC will be because it's more detached from the purchase.
Yeah, that's what I find interesting about advertorials, that you can kind of do this clickbait stuff and you can convert pretty much everybody if you do really well. And then I guess also just because of the curiosity click, you can actually outrank everybody in the Google search engine.
Exactly.
And go there. Have you seen any crazy clickbait advertorials, or you have been within the good whitehead space?
Of course there are. I think where it gets a bit crazy, if it's like personally, in terms of my moral code, I think when it goes towards like the medical side of things, it gets a bit, it can be a bit crazy.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of people do this thing where they like have like a imaginary doctor, like Dr. Rose, like recommend the product and stuff like that. Like that's, I think, where it gets a bit sketchy. But yeah, I've seen, crazy advertorials that make all sorts of promises.
Yeah, and then it's like, as seen in Harvard, and then it's like the ingredient is just mentioned in one article somewhere once.
If that.
Yeah.
If that.
If that. I didn't meet people yet that did that.
Yeah.
That I would consider crossing the line a little bit.
Yeah.
At least there should be some truth somewhere
Of
you run
course.
it. But
It comes down to product. Like if the product's good, you can write an advertorial and that's accurate.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can do. Like, what's the difference between a legit business and a scam? It's just the offer, it's the product. The worse the product is, at some point it becomes a scam,
Yeah.
So, and that also makes marketing more difficult. If the product and the offer is good, more ads and more angles will convert, and
100%.
so will more advertorials, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the key. Like as long as you keep the product strong, everything else will be easier.
Yeah, and keep innovating, adding new things.
100%.
Yeah, that makes 100% sense. So you already mentioned it. You also have your own agency now.
Yes.
So let's get into that a little bit. And what I'm specifically curious about is you're from Germany. You spent some time in Dubai.
Yes.
And you also figured out a way to get pretty big clients
Yeah.
in Dubai.
Yes.
So I'm curious how that was different from getting clients in Germans and just how you approach the whole subject.
Yeah, very interesting question. So yeah, as you pointed out rightfully, we have sort of two primary customer bases. I would say about 80% of what we do is classic D2C e-com brands that are Europe or US based, and doesn't really matter if it's Dutch, German, American, founder owned, anything from 10 to 50 people, 7 to 8 figure revenue. It's a pretty homogeneous sort of client base in ICP. But then we also have some governmental, semi-governmental corporate clients here in Dubai. Everyone that knows me knows I spend a lot of time in Dubai, been here for a long time, and we have some big clients in this area, and they're fundamentally completely different. When you're dealing with a D2C brand, I founder on one, you're dealing with a business, again, 10 to 50 people. There's one guy calling the shots. He books in a meeting with you. If he trusts you, if you can demonstrate to him that you've done it, multiple times, like this guy will work with you within a few days, Not saying it's easy. You got to build that track record. You got to have the expertise. It's very, very difficult. But once you're in the position that we're in, it's just a case of matching, and we decline people. I think, only a fifth of people that book in with me, I actually do the call with. Probably less, probably more like 1 in 7. Mm-hmm. But it's working, we got traction. Now, put that to the side and talk about a huge corporate entity, semi-governmental entity. It's a whole different process. Who do you talk to? You don't talk to the equivalent of the founder, right? You talk maybe to a marketing manager or to the CMO or maybe the director of marketing, right? Or a board member or president, whatever. Already there's so much different levels of hierarchy, right? Of who you talk to, right? And what happens if you speak to the CMO and he likes you, but the vice president doesn't like you, or vice versa? There's just so much more going on. Then as you basically get into talks and then you basically want to make a deal, you have to go through things like procurement, where your whole company is scanned and vetted and you're awarded a contract or not, and then you go basically submit a proposal. It's a whole different beast. Very, very, very different way of doing things. So the way to acquire these clients, in my opinion, is a sort of multi-step process. So first of all, you have to have the contacts, right? So you need a strong network. If you don't have that, it's, you cannot even, have nowhere to start. So you need to have a good network where you can get these introductions, right? Once you get these introductions, you need to get enough of them, because you can meet someone from whatever company, but they might not need your services at the right time. So you need a high number of touch points, and you also need a high degree of patience. And you shouldn't be too desperate about making a deal. Like, you meet the people, you get to know them, you have a coffee. All right, cool. I'll let you know if I need something like that in the future, right? And that's most of the meetings you will have. But you have to stay persistent. You have to be patient. I think it's good to offer value. Free value is always a good policy without, again, being too desperate. You can do an audit. And, even when doing things like that or little pieces of work to kind of showcase how you operate, I would recommend don't try and deliver huge pieces of work. Don't do whole SEO audit of like a multi-billion company. Like, it's going to take you too long. Pick a small piece of work, a small scope, and highlight what you can do, That's one of the things I would recommend is free value in that way. Be very honest and transparent. There's nothing more cringe and weird than you sitting with someone at a table and pretending to be interested in them when you actually want to deal with their company. Just be straight up, be like, hey, I really think I can help you and I want to do business with you. Let's figure out a way to do this. Are you interested, or you kind of have someone for this? I think that's a much better basis than this weird dance people do with networking, right? That's number 2. And number 3 is go the other way around, right? So for example, any big company you want to work with, be that in Europe or in Dubai or anywhere in the world, there is a procurement process, right? You have to be selected and you have to be vetted. And for you to even be eligible to that, you have to be registered with them. So there are different platforms where you can register to basically a sum of procurement portals. You validate your company, you upload all the details, and then you can access multiple sort of what they call RFPs, requests for proposals, right? So this is a completely different path. This is you don't know anyone at the company. You just go through this huge portal that allows you to access all contracts, these corporations or government entities are putting out. So that's the third way. And by doing that, you'll get into interesting conversations because you'll mention what type of company you have, what service you offer. There's a RFP going up, request for Google agency. You do your pitch, and then boom, suddenly you have a meeting with the CMO, and now this is a CMO that actually is looking for an agency, right? No network. All right, maybe chances of winning are lower, but then you got a really, really strong touch point with that person. So it's a big, it's very, very time consuming to land these contracts. So you got to have patience, you got to have network, and you got to have the right strategy.
Got it. And what did you specifically do in Dubai to build your network? Or did you kind of already have a pre-existing network from Germany?
Yeah, very good question. So I first came to Dubai in 2022 with Diego, actually, to celebrate sort of working together on the brand for 2 years and doing really, really well. And, obviously I got, the city impressed me, obviously I got struck by everything happening here, all the visuals and everything. But the one thing that stood out for me was the high caliber of entrepreneurs that you can meet basically everywhere. And I think this is something a lot of us face, growing up in Europe or whichever place, is you kind of outgrow your environment, and you're it's very difficult to find like-minded people that are on your level and that you can grow together with. So that's one thing that just stood out to me immediately. I'm this is the place for me. I love entrepreneurship. I'm an entrepreneur, and everyone here seems to be doing something productive, and I fell in love with it, right? And my experience was very, very good because I had built the brand and I had built the agency. So I had already built 2 working, profitable businesses. And for me, Dubai was like a side quest. That's how I dealt with it. It felt like a video game. I just all right, I accepted the side quest, and the side quest is conquer the city or become someone or get to know the city, right? Whatever you want to call it. And for me, it was like a video game. It's a video game in which I woke up every day. I had resources. I had 2 businesses. I had a bank account with money in it. Okay, here's your money, Arian. Go out there and make something happen. Become someone here. Network, get to know the right people and make something happen. And it really was I looked at it like a video game. I'd go to 2-3 networking events, spend money on it, spend time on it, only to realize that was the worst thing ever. I hated every second of it. Just a bunch of weird crypto guys, So that side quest kind of failed, that strategy, I didn't get to conquer the castle with that. So back to the drawing board, we'll go away from that, right? Now let me try paid mastermind. Again, put resources and time towards that. Where do we get to? Who do we meet? Can I make any connections? Does this work? Works or doesn't work, whatever. Then the next step, right? Now you go for passion and hobbies. You go to places that where you can you go to places where you can do your hobbies, the things you like. I like training. I like sports. I like martial arts. So I go to a martial arts gym, a good one, right? Not just like a trash one. And I see who I can meet there. So I kind of like treated it like I had one objective, and I just tried all these different avenues. And what worked for me is that I had resources. I actually have something to offer, right?
Yeah, skill. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not there like, trying to like, you will meet a lot of people anywhere in the world that are trying to make a buck, like, trying to find out one deal or whatever. I don't need that. Like I'm solid, like I have a stable base. So that already puts you in a strong position, because you meet someone, if you like them, you do business, and if not, you don't, right? So that's already a good position to be in. And secondly, I strongly believe in creating value for people and being valuable to people, right? And again, having 2 working companies would give me that opportunity, right? So if I meet someone, instead of like being dependent on a deal to work, like, oh my God, like, let me do something with you. Can I get some money from you? I don't want your money. Like, let me do something for you. Like, you got a car dealership, you got a huge car rental company, you got a real estate company, no problem. Let me do my thing. Let me do something for you, right? You put in your people. Our team is very strong. Everyone knows this. I put on my people to do an audit or to whether review something, do a meeting. Just free value. Just, take that, hold that and see, right? And that's been a really key thing, because people are used to people coming in, trying to like make a deal and a quick buck. I'm like, no, I don't want your money. Let me just do something for you.
You do a lot of stuff for free.
Not anymore.
Not anymore, but when you started.
Yeah, but then again, not just for free, like in a smart way as well, for the right people.
Yeah, of course. Not for everybody, but for some people, you did some stuff for free.
Exactly. But that's also, that's not so easy. Like, you got to be in a position to do that as well.
Of course. I'm not saying it's easy.
No, I'm not taking it that way, but I'm saying is like you can do something for free, but it's the difference whether you do it or you've got like a team of trained experts with 7 SOP and templates that deliver something pristine that impresses people. So that's been that's been also a key component of networking in the city. Yeah.
Got it. I mean, you already talked a little bit about it. You have a team. How many team members do you have nowadays?
About 20.
20.
Yeah.
So do you find the right people? How do you hire A players? Or are you someone who hires B players and makes them A players? What's your...
Very good question. So I think hiring needs to be something continuous. I think if you're hiring when you're in need, it's a terrible position to be in, right? If I've got my team's full, I don't need anyone, you stop hiring, and then boom, someone jumps off or whatever, and then you have to hire. That's already like a really bad position to be in. You're prone to pay like way too much to like some recruitment agencies, or hire someone who's a B player or who's not really fitting in because you have the need. So I don't think you should hire, or you should wait to hire when you need it. That will, most cases, lead to a bad hire. Because hiring is difficult, man. Hiring is like ads. It's something, it won't work from one day to the other. You need to become good at it, right? So I think it starts with mindset, and that is, you need to be always hiring the whole time. You need to have a evergreen process, right? And that entails constant acquisition of talent. And a constant process that runs. And that's how we approach it, right? We have like very specific mechanisms for which we do evergreen recruiting, our own recruiting, regardless of any recruitment agencies.
You're running recruitment ads, or?
Yes. Yeah, that's one of the tools that we use. And then you need to have a very good structured process of how to work with those applications, right? Very streamlined, the way we reach out to them, the way we interview them. And then the whole interview and hiring process is always running, and it's very, very specific to our case. And that way, honestly speaking, we're talking to A players all the time, and we have the opportunity to hire A players all the time. But guess what? We're also interviewing all year round and running recruitment ads all year round. So that's how we approach it. I think that's the key behind it.
Got it. Okay, don't want to share too much. Won't share too much, won't bother you with that. Let's move on. You already mentioned you're running recruitment ads. You also started running ads for your own business.
Yeah.
How is that going from e-commerce to more service providing ads?
Yeah. I think that was a good decision. Looking back, I think running ads is just, it buys you awareness without having to have like a super intricate and super tedious organic strategy. But again, it's not. It's. I think in business, in many cases, and especially in the agency world and e-commerce, it's not about there's no secret pill. It's about an approach that encompasses all the unique aspects, right? So ads worked really well for me because I had already done 30 talks and
Crazy
everyone,
case studies,
and everyone already knew me, and they'd be like, oh shit, that's that guy I saw at the conference, the guy that did a talk. I did YouTube videos, so I'd be like, oh, this is the guy I saw the YouTube video, or I did events, or I just had a good reputation or good case studies. What I think ads do for you, or did for me, is it just allows me to re-engage those people. Like my sales don't come from ads. My sales come from people that already know me, and they see the ad. Oh shit! Actually, I need Google Ads. Let me talk to this guy. I know him. So that's been the main benefit. So I wouldn't recommend anyone, especially starting out, if you're starting out as an agency, don't invest too much money into ads. Like build an ecosystem, and then ads play one role in that.
Yeah, I would say if you're not making at least 50K a month, don't even think about it. I think from 100K a month or something, then can make sense, but might not have to even do it.
Agreed.
So what I found interesting to following your journey was that out of nowhere you were like at a bunch of stages.
Yeah.
That seemed to happen after Made Man.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how that happened. So I'm curious how you got on all these stages, affiliate world, all that stuff. I mean, I know you were in the scene for a long time before that.
Yeah.
But it seems like there was it seemed to click, or you seemed to pop off. What happened there? Or was it just the compound effect?
For sure. One of my closest friends is Carl Weisch. And he's pioneered the speaking space in e-com and D2C. I don't care what anyone says. Carl is the OG of speaking. Like he's the one who started it. Like when he went to Oxford Union, everyone's like, why is this guy talking at an event? Like, what's this? Like he's trying to become president. Like no one understood it. So have to give credit there. Carl's the OG of talking on stage. I don't care what anyone says. I have the privilege of being one of his closest friends, and he stressed to me how important speaking is. I didn't really understand it at the time. So I had a really good speaking mentor, so to speak, or someone to like put me on how it works. One of the things that I really liked about speaking is that it is so challenging. Like if you've never spoken on stage before, it is so freaking difficult to do it for the first time. And you can't practice it. Like, what are you going to fill a room with 80 people and sit on a stage? You can't practice. It's just you prep and you go. Yeah. And that's what I really like. And I really wanted to conquer it because I wasn't terribly good or bad at it. But yeah, I wanted to become good at it. So that's why I did a lot of talks. And again, their value, just do more. Like do more where the next guy's not willing to do. Like any speech I did, especially the beginning ones, I always gave a massive freebie. I spent 4 weeks preparing for the stage and another 2 just crafting a freebie that I'd give away at the end of it. And then the organizers appreciate that as well when you do that, right? So again, providing value is one of the things. And I would recommend everyone try and do it. But again, don't just go on stage. Like, be someone first. Build something first. Someone who hasn't accomplished anything and thinks speaking is the hack, standing on stage is the most cringe thing ever. You don't want to do that. It comes back to be someone of value and provide value to others. Build something, build a person, build a business. And once you have something to show, then go out there and show everyone.
Yeah, you have been using your case studies a couple of times, right?
Absolutely.
People love that.
For sure. I don't like using case studies too much. I try to use less of them because I personally just find it cringe to stand there and talk about these crazy numbers all the time, because that's not what makes a business really. I don't think it's the numbers, and like it doesn't say anything. Like, so what, you scale a company? Like, maybe someone else was working on Meta on TikTok, they actually scale it and you just got benefit from your channel. Like it's, and like sophisticated people understand that. So I don't like even using case studies too much because let's be honest, you're only going to use outliers. Like no one uses just a normal account. You always lose an outlier. So I just think the whole thing a bit cringe and I don't like using it too much. Mm-hmm. I prefer focusing on start with what the audience will benefit from. Like what can you give them that's actually going to benefit them? And if it's just one setting they need to apply on their account, and you let them know, like that will make them money. So that's what I like to focus on, is the benefit. But yes, of course, the case studies, that's what everyone wants to know. Like, how do I scale to $1 million a month? You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's also with like all these like fake people and gurus out there that I hear totally what you're saying. But for me, if it's not a case study, I'm like, yeah, you know, he might have Googled like 5 YouTube videos and just summarized it with AI and just give me the best practices. But when I hear you, that's the main reason why I thought it would be super cool to have you on.
Yeah.
Just to hear like, how did it happen?
Yeah.
The box springs, right? How did you actually do it step by step by step?
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you have a little bit of an aversion there, which I understand. But at the same time, that makes you stand out, right?
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's always the same formula, man. I'm not a smart worker. I'm a hard worker. And I believe anything you put a lot of energy towards and you create value, it will always resonate. Same, like if you go on stage and you take the 5 best YouTube videos and you just summarize them and then you present it, whether you really spend time thinking about how you do your service, how you do your business, you craft a formula, and then you really spend time thinking about how that is relevant for the audience, and you spend weeks refining that and tweaking that. There is a substance to it, there is an integrity to it that people can feel.
Yeah, but most speakers don't have that.
Exactly.
Okay, let's say at least 10%. Let's
exactly. But I think that's the solution, and that's the secret sauce to everything in life.
Yeah.
Is that substance to it, right? It's the same thing. Like if you go to Italy, to Naples, and you eat in a crazy restaurant with like a crazy, flower pot next to you that looks like it's from Roman times, like you can probably 3D print the same thing in China and it'll look exactly the same, but it will somehow not feel the same. It will be something like subconsciously you notice some details about that flower pot that tell you this is authentic. And people have that skill. And it's the same with anything else in life. That substance, that integrity will pay dividends.
Yeah. All right. That was the speaking one. I think we're already are ready for the last question. And that's kind of, what do you want to do with your life? So what's your goals? What do you want to do this year? What are you looking to evolve into?
Yeah.
What are your goals?
Interesting. So are we on the life or are we on this year?
Whatever you want. Like, this isn't more like the free end. I'm asking this question because it's always interesting for me to hear other people's goals in terms of inspiration, and then we can also dive a little bit deeper on how you think you get there.
Yeah.
But let's get started with this year. What's your plan? What's your idea for this year?
Yeah. So for this year, one of the main goals is just to further cement our position in terms of the Google Ads agency. I think we've been building a very strong presence internationally and also nationally in Germany. I think we're getting there. I think we have a really strong brand, really strong awareness, and that's my main goal, is just to further cement that, right? Through the services that we offer, through the quality, through the results that we offer, and obviously the marketing and the branding and everything, I really want to put Cyrus on the number 1 spot. Like that's what I want to do. I want us to be the number 1 Google Ads agency, period, for the D2C space. That's
Germany or international? Like
both.
Germany this year, international next year?
Both. Like we're already like pretty strong in both, I would say, but like, cementing that really. I think a lot of people perceive us as that already, but I really want to cement that. I really want to leave no doubt of that, and that entails many things. That entails primarily, in my opinion, the quality of what we do, because the awareness and attraction, we have it. That's one of the main goals. As for the brand, one of the main goals is to consolidate performance. 23 and 24 have been really tricky years for e-com, especially in Europe. We've had a lot of volatility. A lot of businesses went out of business, and one of the goals that I have, or my main goal for this year, is to consolidate performance and to be less susceptible to fluctuations and market conditions, which involves, again, bulletproofing the business, working on different areas, diversifying. I would say that is the main goal for the brand. As for my life goals beyond this year, honestly speaking, I think you need a purpose in life, right? Everyone needs a purpose. I think for me as a man, and a woman can have the same purpose, but for me personally as a man, My purpose is to provide for my close ones, support and resources. That is my job, right? I want to be a beacon of stability for everyone around me. That is sort of my life goal. And I found that the more I focus on that, the happier I am. Done Dubai, done everything, the Lambos, the crazy stuff, the restaurants, whatever, done all of that. And as they say, hedonism is a black hole. Once you go down that path, like at some point, it's not fun anymore. But what I found is the more I'm in tune with my purpose, which is providing, for everyone around me, providing stability also, the happier I am. So I think that's overall my life goal.
Makes sense. So there's no billion-dollar man goal. It's just keep doing what you're doing, get better, improve.
Yeah.
Cement the number one position, and I guess then you will also start looking into getting a family.
Yeah.
In a couple of years from now.
Yeah, for sure. Like some people have this goal, like they're really obsessed with like I want to hit this number. Like I've had this as well, but I don't find that to be the problem I see with that is if you are primarily concerned with hitting a certain amount of money or becoming a billionaire or whatever, that kind of stuff, I think that's a very good goal to get you going and moving. And if you set a big goal, you just keep moving and moving and moving and moving and moving. But I feel like that goal can leave you feeling very empty and like that moment when you go to bed and you reflect and you're thinking like, why am I doing this? Like, I think that's pretty weak. Like just ego. I want to be the biggest, the best, the billionaire. Like, I don't think like that is fulfilling. And I think if you put the same impetus towards a different goal, which is more around providing and more purposeful, you can reach the same outcome and you can have a sub goal, which is hitting that. But the billion is the number. That's the quantifiable goal. The purpose, that's the why. So, I think you need to have a strong why, and a number is really a why.
All right, that's a great quote to put on a towel in the bathroom or the kitchen.
Correct.
Thanks for being here.
All right, thank you.